Hey agents, it's Dispatch. Let's see what we got going on today. Ah, yes, more math. Before we get stuck into it, I want to say a huge thank you to Dodd, who has been absolutely instrumental in getting me to do more content. Thanks, mate. Today we are discussing self-survivability and repairs. In solo play, this is particularly important as we alone are responsible for keeping ourselves alive as well as killing the enemy. I personally like a lot of survivability on my builds because I'm not looking to drench myself in my own sweat while I'm casually playing content. There are a lot of different ways to increase your survivability, so we'll go over those first, and then we'll proceed to analyze each one in depth to see how viable it is in comparison to others. First up are sources of survivability: armor, armor repair, shields, and repair skills. The more armor you have, the less efficient armor regen miners are, and they are exactly on the efficiency ratio at minimum armor. Even then, you're better served running repair skills miners because they can affect two skills, whereas armor regen only gives you a flat bonus. Brand bonus armor regen bonuses are decent, but will still take 100 seconds to completely repair your armor on their own. Let's discuss armor repair talents. First up, efficient. This one is incredibly underrated, and with the Fireball kit, gives 400% health and armor back over 10 seconds. And it takes 2 to 3 seconds to pop an armor kit. So it's really nice having that basically unlimited armor kit that gives you huge armor regen, 31% on average. Adrenaline Rush. Adrenaline Rush gives you a lot of extra armor right when you need it, when you're close to the enemy and potentially taking lots of damage. Since it refreshes every 5 seconds, it will essentially give you 4, 8, or 12% repair depending on how many enemies are in the vicinity. Bloodsucker. In theory, if you had enough enemies, this would probably be the best talent in the game. However, this talent takes 10 kills to reach its full ridiculous potential, and takes 6 to surpass just what Adrenaline Rush can do instantly. Usually, by the time you have a sizable buff buildup, you've already killed most of the enemies and are no longer needing it. Also, very similar to Memento, with Memento giving you way more benefits. If you've seen any of Fog of War's videos, he did an analysis of how many enemies on average are in each wave. What he found out is that missions typically have 8 enemies, and there are 12 enemies per wave in a control point. So realistically, in a mission, you're not even going to be able to reach the full potential of this talent. And in the open world, since enemies are more spread out, it will be much harder to maintain. The only time I can really see this being super viable is in the new Manhunt mission, where endless waves of enemies can spawn. But even then, that's pretty tough. Galvanize. Galvanize is another underrated talent because it gives you 4% bonus armor regen on average. It gives a big boost that lasts 10 seconds. You can't reproc it during its duration, only after the cooldown is ended. So there's some timing considerations there. You won't have it reprocced right at the 10-second mark. However, this also helps out your teammates, which is a huge bonus. Memento gives you 2 extra primary attributes plus 30% weapon damage, 30% skill efficiency, 3% armor regen, and the short-term buffs when all stacked. That's pretty nutty. You'll see later how those extra primary attributes can also help your shields a lot. Leadership. Capable of roughly 3% bonus armor regen if you cover to cover very close to the enemy. However, keeping out this buff and having to cover reduces your actual time shooting, so that reduces your DPS. This one just has better options like Galvanize. Protector, 5% bonus armor regen for allies, 1.66% bonus armor regen for you. Pretty decent for group play if you're running a shield, but there are better options like Galvanize. Protected reload, 20% bonus armor while reloading for yourself and allies. Why you would ever take this, I don't know. It would be way more useful if it gave 20% while you're reloading to your allies, but it's just so hard to time that bonus armor, and it goes away as soon as you're done reloading, so it's pretty much worthless. Ridgeway's Pride, capable of possibly the highest repair in the game. The difficulty is proccing the maximum buff. The enemy has to be alive and probably damaging you, and in close proximity. Again, all by doing a ton of damage to you. This runs against most playstyles in the game, especially close quarters like Hunter's Fury that reward focusing down one enemy to reduce incoming damage as opposed to damaging all the enemies. It is very easy for enemies to die or move out of the range of this buff before you can get one or two ticks of the repair since it happens on a 1 second tick. Not to mention, if running a shield, having this many enemies in close proximity will inevitably lead to them flanking and potentially killing you very easily. Additionally, there are lots of tanky robots that don't bleed and they do a lot of damage. Entrench. 20% armor repair with a 6 second cooldown is 3.3% armor repair, but this requires you to be in cover and hit a headshot and be in the danger zone of less than 30% armor. This is terrible, especially since it's competing with other headshot talents like Headhunter. Unbreakable. Unbreakable is lots of people really like it, think because you don't really have to think about it, but it basically gives you a free armor kit once per fight. That's kind of terrible. It has a 60-second cooldown, putting you at 1.6% armor regen on average, which is not really up to par. Hard grade. 1.8% regen for you and your teammates with a long cooldown unless you get a specialization weapon kill. However, it's basically giving your whole team the unbreakable talent, so it's a pretty handy team buff and will just prevent people from going down. Vanguard. Shield invulnerability and bonus armor for your allies makes this one of the best tank team buffs in the game. However, it does have some anti-synergy with Foundry since Foundry requires your shield to take damage to get full use, but hey, completely ignoring damage, pretty good. Heartbreaker. Like Clutch, but each bonus armor stack expires and you get 2 or 4% per second in theory. Keep in mind that this basically doubles or triples your armor pool, so that's pretty good. That's the reason why lots of people run it with almost all reds. Umbra. This does not give you 0.8% armor regen. It gives you 0.8% armor repair per stack. At 10 stacks per second, that's 8% repair per second. If you have the backpack, it's 16%. True Patriot. 2% or 3% regen per second for you and your teammates. In theory, you can make this higher if multiple enemies have the buff and you're shooting multiple enemies within 1 second. But yeah, basically 2 to 3%. You can't really count on being able to hit more than one enemy. Forge. If we have a skill tier 0 shield, adding the Forge gives us 2.7 million total shield health, which is a skill tier and a half's worth of shield health. This is crazy and super efficient if built correctly. Empress International and the named Motherly Love Gloves are multiplicative with shield health and other skills health as well. Catharsis, capable of 5% repair per second for the 10 seconds, but it takes a long time to proc in PvE. May be useful for an ultra tanky build, since your shield also counts as taking damage for the stacks, but for the most part, it's pretty inconsistent and everything else is going to give you more repair, so I would pass in favor of another exotic, but if you got an open exotic slot, why not? Preservation. This talent is almost a 1% armor regen brand bonus plus a 10% armor on kill brand bonus. It gives you the benefits of armor regen by spreading out your repair, so if you're at full armor, it'll still take effect if you take damage during the duration, and because it's triggered by kills, you can stack it faster than if it was just straight armor regen. So if you get a kill every 5 seconds, then you're doing twice as much as if it was just 2% armor regen. This is particularly good for MMR builds where you're going for headshots anyway, and then you can focus all your minor attributes and all that on damage. Okay, Foundry. The first spreadsheet is the raw numbers, and we'll look at a bit of analysis later on for comparison. I really, really struggled with how to present this information, so let me know if you have any ideas in the comments below. Note for the shield numbers, I had a 5% shield health mod on my shields. As we discussed before, Adding armor cores gives you a couple extra bullets from enemies, but doesn't really go the distance for increasing your survivability nearly as much as repairs do, since repairs happen much more over the course of a fight. For this comparison, I'll treat all repairs the same, considering you're positioning yourself properly so that you take minimal damage to your armor and your shield takes the appropriate proportion of fire. Shields give you a massive boost to your total health and armor pool. Not only that, but we see here why they are so efficient. They also give you repairs. It only applies to your shield, but it's a large value and goes up as you increase skill tier. There's a reason lots of people run shields. It is possible that running a shield will mean that you take more damage because you're a bigger target. I really haven't come up with a way to quantify this though, so we'll leave it as is for now. Here we see how much multiplicative armor each core is giving us, and how much multiplicative armor and health we get from each core. Next, we see the shield health and how much each armor core or skill tier is multiplicatively increasing our shield health. Oddly, the shield health is best increased by the first skill tier and is slightly less efficient after that. Next to that, I've calculated how much the shield health has increased our total armor pool. In this case, we can see that the shield gives us a massive boost to our armor pool, with the Crusader basically tripling it right off the rip. The Bulwark almost quintuples our armor pool at skill tier 1. Nutty. Not only that, shields repair themselves and at a pretty high rate. We'll have comparisons for this later. But as you can see, I've got the Liberty, Artificer, and Foundry Bulwark on here. Let's discuss how I got those numbers. First, the Artificer. The Artificer improves its skill repair as you go up in skill tier and when you add repair skill attributes. Big thanks to Mutant Cowboy for his work in discussing the skill. See his channel in the description. I assumed 2 skill tiers and no repair mods, so 22% shield health repair every 10 seconds. Even at this low value for a shield, the shield does an insane amount of repair. Foundry. I used a massive reduction to come up with the figures here. Basically, the idea is that if your shield and armor get essentially wiped out, how much average repair would happen from that one chunk of damage. Here we have the numbers. In reality, as you continue to take hits, the repair will start to stack on itself and get higher and higher. If you combine this with other forms of repair, you're essentially replacing that health pool. When you take damage, you heal it, and that allows for more damage to be done, stacking more repair. This gives us a good baseline for comparison. It doesn't include the Chester backpack, however. Let's talk about how I got the Liberty figures. If you only hit headshots, the 3% shield repair will only kick in every other bullet. One round stacks, then the next one consumes the stack. You can be more efficient than this by getting lots of stacks and consuming them all at once, but let's just keep it simple at this rate. I actually have a build with a mix of repair skills attributes, motherly love, forge, artificer, and crusader, and it heals something like 87% of my shield health with just 3 skill tiers. Insane. We're not dealing with that here, and it's just still doing extremely well, especially when other skills aren't nearly as good at low skill tier. Foundry here also does extremely well, but that requires much more investment than just changing out a near useless skill. As you can see from the raw numbers, the shield self-repair diminishes in return slightly as you increase shield skill tier. Each increase in shield skill tier is essentially giving you one more armor region minor attributes worth of repair to your shield, as well as a couple of armor cores worth of shield health. Down here in the highlighted section is my plug for the Forge named holster. Skill tier 2 gives you more total shield health than a skill tier 3 shield. It also shows that a foundry set favoring skill tiers and or weapon damage cores can be much more efficient than leaving the cores as armor cores, since that 50% shield health has less diminishing returns. As you can see, the spreadsheet here is kind of a mess. I tried to come up with hard values as to how much repair is actually happening. However, the values varied so wildly that it makes it hard to compare and put into context. In this next sheet, I compared them all as a ratio of repair compared to armor value to get an armor region analogy. Essentially running a talent versus just throwing a shield on your build. which one's actually going to generate more repairs. Remember that the actual repair values go very high, and this is just a percentage comparison. Clutch. Clutch requires a special calculation. For the purpose of this, you can get 15% armor regen after a kill with the vector and 50% hit percentage. The repair is only active for 10 seconds after the kill, and so you need to prioritize red cores. If you have an AR with the standard reload, which takes over 2 seconds, you spent more than half the buff reloading if you're running 6 armor cores. Running more reds allows you to secure the kill and keep firing because you still have bullets in the mag, and allows for the buff to run longer. I've always had trouble translating the seemingly high repair to results in the field, probably simply because it requires you to be firing and exposed to generate the repair. Therefore, if you're still exposed while under the absolutely withering burst damage from enemies, almost no amount of repair will save you. Said another way, it has the potential to be absolutely insane amount of repair, but in order to get that repair, you might have to take way more damage than you should. As we can see on the spreadsheet, Foundry gives you a lot of repair. The Artificer, here only at skill tier 2 with no repair skill attributes, is also doing respectable repairs. Keep in mind that in order to get this amount of repair on your build with a talent, you essentially need to sacrifice one of your talent slots, and even then, you usually have to trigger the talent properly. The Liberty also does very well despite us not using it in the most optimal fashion. Our skills on the right side do okay at skill tier 0, but the Hive, Chem, and Trap healing is only per charge. The Trap in particular seems decent for a solo skill since it effectively acts like a regenerating armor kit. The benefits of these is that they don't require the positioning of a shield, they can repair and protect from all sides. I prefer the Drone and the Seeker personally, since they don't require any management, which ensures maximum attention and uptime on firing at the enemy. They also benefit from total repair skills, outgoing repair, and incoming repairs, so that can drastically increase their effectiveness. The shield is a better option at skill tier 0 since it gives us more repairs than even the Drone and Seeker combined. Once again, for DPS and low armor builds, the easiest thing you can do is just use a shield to give you a massive survivability boost. If you want to commit to a shield versus a repair skill, each has their own ways of improving, most of which we covered in this spreadsheet. One other wrinkle in this analysis, the case for armor on kill. You can get kills with your traps. See Blizzak's gaming channel in the description for an explanation about this. I haven't seen this anywhere else, so I want to make sure that he gets the credit for it. This can give you an insane amount of repairs. Finally, Future Perfect, probably my favorite weapon talent in the game, and very, very efficient. It also has a hidden synergy with shields. It can proc overcharge. The thing is, this overcharge is only based on skill tiers, not armor cores. Each proc does increase your shield skill tier, but the coding only procs overcharge when your general skill tiers, not your shield skill tiers, your general skill tiers are at 6 and you get the kill. Proccing overcharge at the right time based on a kill is pretty dubious, but it does help your shield. There are other ways of proccing overcharge, so there's Energize, BTSU gloves, and Acostas, which I'll have to investigate later. Alright agents, that was a lot. This took me a long time to put together, battling scope creep and trying to figure out how to compare the data. If you liked it and want to see a part 2 where I go into more efficiency and comparisons of the best ways to build, hit thumbs up and comment some suggestions below. If you don't like it, drink water and write your criticisms in the comments. Once again, agents, this has been Dispatch. Thanks for learning with us. Take care out there.